Sorry about that. I think that I'm back live again here, so I do apologize. I don't know what happened for sure with my internet connection. All of a sudden it just popped up and said that it had dropped, so hopefully you guys can find me back on the new video that I'm doing here, so I apologize. Like I said, I don't know what the heck happened. For some reason, my stamp room it does not seem to like the internet connection in here, so... Anyway, I will hopefully can combine the two videos together, but just wanted to say that I'm using the Beautiful You stamp sets, which I already talked about a little bit, and the Mediterranean Moments stamp set to create this card. Did a little bit of watercoloring, so I wanted to show you quickly how I did that. And I was just in the middle of talking about shimmery white paper and that I had stamped this image in soft suede ink is what I had started with, and had done it on the shimmery white cardstock because if you use the typical watercolor paper and you stamp on it and then you start to watercolor over the top of it, if you aren't really careful, it blends away the entire line that you've stamped. Where the shimmery white paper holds a little bit of the line, so it doesn't blend quite as much, which is a good thing in situations like this when you want the card to sort of hold on to a little bit of the images, as well as add a little bit of, kind of soften it a little bit with your watercoloring. So, first things first, I have already stamped the Beautiful You image of the lady with her umbrella, and did that already in soft suede ink on the panel of shimmery white cardstock. And before I got started, I went ahead and I stamped the little lady on a piece of post-it note, and I actually stamped it so that part of the sticky was under the umbrella. So the little trick with doing that is if you stamp it on a post-it note and have something sticky on it, and use it where the sticky is at, then basically you can lay it down over the top of your other image and then use the post-it note sticky stuff to actually adhere it, so that when you are stamping your other image over the top of it, then the post-it note will hold it in place. So, alright, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp the image from the Mediterranean Moments stamp set. I'm going to ink it up in a little bit of soft suede ink. And again, there was no precise way that I did this. I just sort of eyeballed it. Knew that I wanted it to overlap her a little bit, but then just took it and stamped it down. And I tend to hold it for a little second just to make sure that I've got a good solid image, which looks like I did. I'll set that aside. And then peel the mask off, and ta-da, all done. So you've got your image one stamped over the top of the other, which is exactly what you want to get started with this project. So the next thing that I did was I took an aqua painter, and my handy dandy, I just have like an old kitchen towel basically that I use to blot my aqua painter on. You can use paper towels or whatever it is that is your favorite thing to blot with. It doesn't really matter. Like I said, I just use an old paper towel, or I'm sorry, an old kitchen towel. And you want your aqua painter, you don't want it to be completely dry, obviously, but you don't want it to be soppy wet either when you're going to do this technique. The first thing that I did was I went over the areas that I wanted just to be softened with the soft suede ink. And so basically just took the aqua painter, kind of brushed it around on the areas, pulled it out a little bit from the edges. And I hear the dog just walked up behind me, so hopefully she won't start making a bunch of racket. And again, this is just sort of softening things. It's not really watercoloring and blending a whole bunch, but it's just kind of softening a little bit of the edges so that you don't have quite the harsh lines. And I just sort of did this all around the images, anywhere that I wanted to add a little bit of color. And then for aqua painters, I don't know if you know this trick, but basically to clean the ink out of it, you just take it, squeeze a little bit of water out, put it on blot it on your towel, and then, like I said, because of this technique that I'm doing, I want it to be a little bit dry. Just take it, blot it a few times on the towel, and then grab your next color of ink. When you're going to use an ink pad to watercolor with, it's a real simple thing that you do with it. You basically just go into the center of it. Hey Joy, thanks for joining me, and thanks for the birthday wishes. Glad you found me after my first attempt stopped in midstream. So This one I'm using Pool Party, and I'm going to do the little bike with it and the windows. And so you just take it and squeeze the center of your ink pad. Give it a good solid squeeze. I mean, you don't need to squeeze it hard enough to snap it in half or anything, but just give it a good squeeze. And what you want to do is transfer some ink to the lid. So from there, I just grab a little bit. Again, with this one, the way I did it, I wanted it to be sort of a soft look in the background, so I didn't want a lot of real harsh lines and colors. I'm just grabbing a little bit of ink and adding it to the bike. And again, it's going to blend a little bit with your soft suede ink. I just kept going back and drying my aqua painter on my towel as I went along, so that I didn't get too much of the soft suede ink mixed in with it. Alright, and then I'm going to take that, go over the windows. And again, it's going to get a little bit muddied looking, but again, that was sort of the effect that I wanted. I wanted it to have a little bit of the, just sort of a muted background, I guess. Alright, the next color that I'm going to use, I'm going to take a little bit of the Pear Pizzazz, which is what I use to add the color to all the little shrubs and things around, which is here. And a little bit here. And again, I'm just drying the aqua painter off in between times when I touch it, just so that I get some of the soft suede ink out, so it doesn't get quite as much of the brown tone in it. Alright, I think we're ready to move on. I'm going to grab the Calypso Coral next. And that is what I used. Oop, that's probably going to be a big glub. On the doorway. And as you'll notice, I'm just sort of using quick little brush strokes. I'm not trying to do a lot of blending, that sort of thing on here. Just because, first of all, the watercolor paper, or I'm sorry, the shimmery white paper is not watercolor paper, so you're not going to get the true blending properties that you get when you typically use a watercolor paper. So just want to make sure that you're not expecting it to work like watercolor paper, because it won't. It is definitely different. And I realized I forgot to do all this in soft suede as well. So anyway, so I can't even remember what I was saying, but basically I'm just trying to get it to blend in a little bit here. Not doing a real thorough job of blending, because I want it to sort of, like I said, just be a muted background. Alright. Hey Mary, thanks for jumping in. Hopefully you don't mind my snotty nose and my fumbling through it and messing up the first video. Somehow I ended up, oops, I forgot I did the shutters in Calypso Coral as well. Messing up the video the first time around. Somehow I lost my internet connection. I think it doesn't like my stamp room, but unfortunately that's where I need to do my videos, because all my stuff is here. So maybe I need to have my husband fix it. I'm not sure. So adding a little Calypso Coral to the shutters and around the window frame. Alright, I think that's all that I did in Calypso Coral. And I'm having to stop and wipe my nose. I can't believe this cold is just like the most yuckiness ever. So, anyway. And then the last color that I'm adding in here is a little bit of So Saffron. I'm putting it in so hopefully it looks sort of like she's got some curtains in there. And then one color I need to grab yet is Smoky Slate. And that I used just to add the little, like the color to the wheels on the little bike here. And I think I'll go ahead and do the little seat in the pack here as well. And maybe the underneath area. Get a couple of those. And it looks like I forgot, there's a little section here in between the bike seat and the front of the bike where I need to add a little bit of Calypso Coral. So I think that's basically the background, and I'm not seeing too many other big white spaces, so I think we're done with that part of it. Now I'm going to take a few minutes to work on the little lady. Hey Jerry, thanks for jumping in. Like I said, I apologize that my first video didn't want to work very well, but hopefully this one will continue on and I'll be able to get finished up before I lose it again. So add in a little bit of pink pirouette to the woman and just coloring in the areas on her neck and her legs. And then the final part is going to be just add in a little bit of color to her umbrella and to her dress. So again, just grabbing a little bit of color. This I did a little bit in sections, so I took a section of the umbrella and added color to that rather than running my aqua painter across like the entire thing. I was afraid that would end up with too much of the soft suede getting mixed in with it. So I just tried to do it in sections. Plus it doesn't dry quite as quickly. Sometimes if you run across everything, do a big wide swath across, then you get like a dark streak and then it dries too fast for you to get back and do any sort of mixing in and blending with it. So that's why I tend to do a little bit more in sections, especially when I'm working on shimmery white cardstock as opposed to watercolor paper that you can sort of wet and re-wet a couple times. Alright, so I think her umbrella is about done. Then I'm going to go in and add a little color to her dress. And you definitely don't need to be any sort of expert at watercoloring to do this. I have to get on, and every time I do one of these, it ends up just slightly different than the other one. So, I mean, no two on mine are exactly alike, and the same will be true for you too. So you don't need to stress out about making them look exactly the same or exactly like mine does or anything like that. Each one's unique, and we get to call it our own special little work of art, I guess. So, 2 pieces of chocolate cake. Sorry, I just looked up at the comments and saw Mary's offering, telling me that I get 2 pieces of chocolate cake and call her in the morning because I'm sick today. So I like it. I like it. I'm going with that. So I need to get my husband to go get me some chocolate cake. I can't believe, well, he was gone all day yesterday, so he didn't get any. Didn't bring home any chocolate cake. And then the last thing I did was just added a little bit of the Real Red down. I can't really tell what's her shoe and what isn't. It's sort of, I don't know if that's the shoe or the puddle, but I just added a little bit of Real Red over that. And then I also did go back over and sort of blended and softened her hair a little bit, just because that, again, it was sort of looked like it had a big white space in it, and I didn't want that necessarily to turn out that way. So anyway, so that's basically what I did. That was, I mean, it's a fairly simple technique. You can just go on and give it a try with some shimmery white cardstock. Stamp your inks on it. Give it a try. Like I said, this is my one this time. This is my original. They're not exactly the same, but like I said, none of them really ever do turn out the same. The measurements for everything on this card are actually on my blog. So you can take a look. It's www.stampwithamyk.com. And I will add in a link to, hey, Robin, thanks so much for the birthday wishes. So, like I said, my daughter gave me a special gift of a bad cold, so yay me. Coughing and snotting. So, so the details about the size that I cut this to and the colors and things that I used, I just layered it on a mat of Real Red cardstock and then added in some, layered it on top of a soft suede card base. Added a little enamel dot, a bright enamel dot, the Real Red one, and then I stamped the sentiment in early espresso, and that was all there was to it. So pretty clean and simple card, and again, pretty easy to do. So hopefully, if you missed the first part where I showed you how I stamped it and got started in the watercoloring, hopefully you'll take a minute to go back and look at it. And like I said, I'm going to post it on my YouTube channel, and I'll post it here on the Facebook page, so hopefully you can take a few minutes to go look at it. Does anybody have any questions before I let you guys go and get on with your day? I'll give it another second or two because I know there's a little bit of delay. Hey, thanks, Robin. I appreciate that. Thank you, Jerry. So, oh, cool. Thanks, Karen. So far, it's been a good birthday. I actually, believe it or not, got to go lay down again after the kids go off to school early here. They're both out the door by 6:30, so I actually went back and took a nap. I was feeling all sorry for myself because I was sick. So, so that was what I did today. I took a nap and then got up and decided I'd do my video. So, yep, Joy, it definitely looks like the trip that we took last year. So I'm Yep, it's very, I love that stamp set. So if you don't have it, definitely go get the Mediterranean Moments. And then the Beautiful You is also one of my very favorite stamp sets from the new catalog as well. So if you don't have either of these, you need to get them. And you're right, Karen, moms don't ever get to take a nap, but I did today just because I was feeling all miserable and sorry for myself. So, all right. Well, thank you guys very much for joining me, and hopefully you learned a little bit of something, and I'm sure that I'll be checking in on a video again soon. Thanks so much for watching.